Hey, Kevin here, Skylabs, bringing you another video. Definitely going to be a fun one. We are going to be looking at the most overpriced or overrated pieces of vintage stereo equipment today. Definitely not going to want to miss this one. I might get into some trouble. Here we go. Hey everybody, I'm sorry about the video quality on this video. I wanted to reshoot it and we just didn't get time because of the schedule this week. And as Pink Floyd says, the show must go on. We've got a new camera coming. Shouldn't be an issue anymore. So if you can get through it, I appreciate it. Thanks. If you're on the fragile side, you can't handle some guy in Iowa. Maybe he's going to say some negative things about one of your prized possessions, then this isn't the right video for you. I know a lot of people out there are just as passionate about their stereo equipment as I am, so I do get it, but we've just had several suggestions to do this very type of video, and I'm going to be blatantly honest about these pieces that I think are a little bit overpriced and maybe a little bit overrated. And I think if we look at the aesthetics, the sound quality, the build quality, repairability, brand recognition, there's a lot of things that go into the price point of anything, really, whether it's a car, piece of vintage stereo equipment, or a donut. It doesn't matter. All those things plus supply and demand give us what an item is worth. So these pieces that I have on my list for being overvalued or overpriced most likely are going to be completely different than what you might have on your list. So this is all subjective. Don't take it seriously. There's just no reason to. I know there's a lot of people out there in the hi-fi community that actually think all vintage stereo equipment is overrated and overpriced. If we can agree on a couple, I think we're doing good. And since I don't want to come on here and just list items I think are overpriced or overvalued, I'm going to give you a suggestion of maybe a piece of equipment that's really similar in build quality, age, that type of thing that I think you can pick up a lot cheaper and be just as happy with. I'm actually really nervous about this list because I know I'm opening myself up to a can of worms. You should definitely read the comment section of this video because I guarantee it there's going to be quite a bit of heated discussion down there. I'm not even going to try and rearrange them in order to lessen the blow. I'm just going to put them out there. First one on my list is Klipsch Heresies. And to a lot of you that watch the channel on a regular basis or come into the store for that matter, this isn't a big surprise to you. I don't hate the Heresies by any stretch. I just do think they are maybe overpriced and a little overrated. And first off, there are a lot of great things about the Klipsch Heresies. You know, the build quality is outstanding. They've had a really long run. They've been around forever. There are a lot of them out there. There's a lot of aftermarket parts. There's a lot of things going for the Klipsch Heresies. And for me, this really is just I personally don't like the sound of Heresies in my environment. And what I mean by that is in a normal sized living room or a smaller room, I don't like the sound of Heresies. I think they do a great job in larger rooms where that long throw or those horns can really do what they're intended to do. But what I don't like about the sound of the Heresies, if I'm in a medium living room or even a smaller size living room, it sounds like the music is in my ears. It doesn't sound like it's in front of me, like a band performing. And they do get a little bit shrill for me. Again, the Heresies are one of the most popular speakers out there that's made in the United States. And we sell Heresies faster than almost any other speaker out there, maybe next to the JBL L100. I love buying and selling Heresies because they sell fast, and I don't even really need to sell them. I put them out on the floor, people come in, they see them, they listen to them, they buy them. It's that simple. And a lot of times when a customer is auditioning Heresies, I know several of you out there that are watching have probably bought Heresies from me, and you asked me my opinion. And I know my reply was, I don't like them. And I'm glad you ended up buying them anyway, because I do think my opinion is irrelevant on how something sounds to you. And we've definitely noticed the popularity of the Heresy or the demand for them really increasing in the last 2 or 3 years. We get people in almost every week asking if we have a pair of Klipsch Heresies for sale. So the interest in the Heresies are not going down, and the prices just keep going up. I think the days of the raw birch cabinet, selling for under $1,000 is pretty much over. If you've got a really nice set of Heresies and an oiled walnut finish, you're not going to have trouble selling them, and you're going to get some decent money for them. This is definitely one of those speakers you can buy and hold on for a little while. And down the road, if you feel like moving on from it, you're not going to lose any money. But in my opinion, if you did want to get into a Klipsch speaker, vintage, and you didn't want to pay the Klipsch Heresy price, I really like the KG series. We've had a lot of KG series Klipsch over the years, and I really liked almost every single one of them. And I think a lot of that has to do with most of those speakers have a passive radiator. And so they have a little bit more bass to them, which kind of helps even out their sound a little bit, because I think they are kind of top heavy. I don't think that's any secret. I think the Klipsch Heresy is one of those speakers that you pretty much have to run a subwoofer with, because there just really isn't much happening below 60, 70 hertz. And I know I'm in the minority with a lot of people in the vintage community about the Klipsch Heresy, but in my opinion, because of the sound quality, I do think they're a little bit overrated, and that's it. And the next one on my list is from one of my favorite brands, and that is the Pioneer SX 1980. And I don't think there's a piece of vintage equipment that gets people acting goofy more than the SX 1980. And as a lot of you know, we picked up an SX 1980 a couple weeks ago. This thing is about as mint as it gets. He's got the original box. Yeah, just super cool. And did a little video on it not too long ago. And since then, we've had several people come in that really just want to see it. They don't care if it's hooked up. They just want to see it in person. And I understand that, because when you first see an SX 1980 in person, it kind of drops your stomach a little bit. I saw the Spruce Goose, that big wood plane that Howard Hughes built out in Oregon on the West Coast. And I had that same feeling where, I'm looking at this monstrous plane, and it just seems too big. It doesn't seem real. That 1980 kind of does the same thing. You look at it and you just think, how and why? And how did this get into production? Because it's huge. And that's one of the coolest things about it, is it gives you that feeling. I think every person that came in to see the 1980 in the last couple weeks did the same thing. They walk in the room, I say, there it is, and they go, oh my gosh. And then they stand back, take a couple steps back, and then they just kind of stare at it. It definitely has that holy vibe to it. And on top of that, the SX 1980 is really well built. You got 270 watts per channel, so all the bragging rights you could ever want. And to a lot of people, this really is the ultimate vintage stereo receiver. And honestly, I do think if you are looking for an SX80 series from Pioneer, I would be looking at anything from an SX 880 to an SX 1080 or 1280. That's the sweet spot, in my opinion. They're still not cheap, but you start hitting the flagships of any line of vintage receiver, and it almost doubles in price. And that is for that ultimate collectability. That's really what you're buying. Nobody really needs 270 watts per channel. I don't care if it's Martin Logans or Magnapans. That is an absolute ton of power. So the reason the 1980 is on my list really is just because of the insane prices that these things are getting, or that people are asking for them, and nothing else really. And most of you knew this next one was coming as well. It's the Marantz 2270, but honestly, I think you'd include the whole 22XX line, everything from the 2215 all the way through the 2270. They really are, in my opinion, overvalued. I don't think there's anything special about the Marantz as opposed to a Yamaha, a Pioneer, a Sansui from the same era. The 2270 has quirks about it, just like the Pioneer and the Sansui and the Yamaha and the Harman Kardons. For me, that 2270, I think, just looks that much better than their competitors. To my ears, if you put the 2270 with a Sansui from the same era, same watt, with a Pioneer, same year, same watt. I couldn't tell the difference sonically. I do think those companies kind of sounded the same. They followed the same trends as far as the way they wanted them to sound from the factory. So I don't think Marantz has a big upper leg on any of the other top brands when it comes to the sound quality or even a sound difference. Are they built well? Absolutely. Are they built better than the other top 4, top 5 competitors? Not really. They all have trade-offs. I just think the design choices, maybe a little bit better of an advertising campaign, just put them up a level against their competition, and it's carried over all the way through today. I definitely don't have any negatives for the 22XX line from Marantz. It really is just the demand that they have and the prices they're getting. I do think they're overvalued a little bit. If I was looking for a 70 watt per channel receiver from this era, I'd probably be looking at like a Pioneer SX939. Most likely you're going to be able to pick one up half the price of the Marantz, same watts, same inputs and outputs, same build quality, half the price. I've said it before, the Marantz tax is live and well, and it's not going anywhere. And again, if you own and love your Marantz 2270 or any Marantz from this era or any Marantz in general, it doesn't matter what I say anyway. That's a great quality piece of equipment. I just think it's a little bit overpriced. That's all. And the next one on our list is probably from my favorite brand from the 70s, and that would be Sansui. It's the 9090DB, and this is actually the first monster receiver I ever owned. I bought one before Skylabs was even a thought. I think I drove 2.5 or 3 hours away to go pick it up, and I played that thing to death for months. And then one day I got up, powered the unit on, no audio. And so the first thing I did was take it to a repair shop. I waited a couple weeks. I got a call back and the guy said, this is going to cost way too much money to fix. There's not enough value in this. Come pick it up. You know, this was probably 10 years ago or more. It might have been worth maybe $200-300 back then. I went and picked it up and I found another technician. I brought it over to him and he said, no problem, I'll get it fixed. I get a call from the technician a couple weeks later and he says, I don't think I can fix it, but I think I can bypass it. Totally fine. I'm not planning on using that Dolby board anyway, so I'd just be happy if I can use all the other functions. A couple more weeks go by, I go to pick it up. He says, I will never touch another one of these things again. He's like, I have so much time into that thing, and I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to get it bypassed. I think you're going to find this really common out there with technicians. A lot of people don't want to touch them. They don't want anything to do with that Dolby board. And it's really too bad too, because that Dolby board doesn't have any functional purpose for 99% of the people that want a Sansui 9090DB. It's just unfortunate that the way they designed that receiver, all of the audio goes through the Dolby board. And so when that Dolby board takes a crap, you don't get audio through it. Hopefully somebody maybe redesigns the 9090DB Dolby board at some point. Until then, if your Dolby board goes out, you're going to have to do a little bit of hunting to find somebody that's going to work on that unit for you. Just keep that in mind. That's the only reason the 9090DB is on this list. It is strictly a repairability issue. And if it were me, I would definitely be looking for the non-DB version. The non-DB version is 15 watts less than the 9090DB, and I will make that trade all day long. The funny thing is because of that 15 more watts per channel, the 9090DB usually sells for $1,000 more than the non-DB version. So you're paying more for a unit that most likely is going to have a really hefty repair bill. I would just buy the non-DB version and maybe eat a little bit of those bragging rights to somebody that actually knows the DB version has 15 more watts. It's that simple. That one's a no-brainer. And the last one on my list is another Pioneer. We've got a turntable this time though, and it is the Pioneer PL530. And again, this turntable has a lot going for it. This is a big, massive, fully automatic, really nice looking turntable, even if it is a vinyl wrap. When you see a PL530, there's no question that this is a very nice turntable, and they sound great when they are performing like they were intended. And for somebody that is putting together a Pioneer system, I totally get it why you want a PL530. It would complete your system perfectly. You've got a big receiver, you need a big turntable that goes next to it from the same era, and that PL530, it looks incredible, it sounds incredible, it's a great turntable. The problem is they are a nightmare to work on. I mean, a nightmare. You've got two motors, a ton of gears, a ton of linkage, all kinds of stuff that can and will go wrong with that turntable, and that is the big problem. You'll be very hard pressed to find a technician that wants to tackle a PL530. The other problem with the PL530 is they used a really thin, it's one of the thinnest vinyl wraps you'll see on vintage equipment out there. They all peel. I've seen one or two out of 20 that didn't have a significant amount of vinyl wrap peeling, especially in the corners and on the sides. And nobody wants a really big, massive, what could be an awesome looking turntable with peeled vinyl wrap on it. It looks terrible. It kind of defeats the point. It's like driving a Mercedes with rust on it. The problem with the PL530 is in order to get the vinyl wrap underneath all of that aluminum, you have to completely disassemble all of that linkage, all of those auto functions to remove that tone arm to get the vinyl wrap under it. And you don't know how many people that have skills in woodworking and cabinetry, you name it, I've had them come in, tell me that they are about ready to tackle the job, and then they come back in and they say, nope. I had the same thought myself because I actually have a PL530 in the back that works perfectly. The problem is with the condition it's in, it's really hard to sell. I've got it in my head that someday I'm going to tackle this turntable, and I probably never will. I should probably just sell it the way it sits. All you got to do is get on eBay and look at the parts availability and the amount of units that are being sold for parts, and it's pretty apparent. And that's something I've been wanting to share. That's a really good indicator of whether or not a piece of equipment has a lot of known issues. If you go on eBay and you look for a specific model and all you see are a lot of parts units and parts, that's a good indicator that there's a lot of problems with those. If you get on eBay and you put in a different unit and you see a lot of working condition, unserviced, that's a really good indicator. And if it were me and I was looking for a large Pioneer turntable to complete a set, big walnut wood cabinet to match, personally, I'd be looking for a Pioneer PL41 or a 51. Turntable in that era, that's a great simple turntable, and it's got that visual appeal that I think a lot of people buying PL 530s are looking for. Really want to thank everybody out there that watched the video with my dad a couple weeks ago. Got some amazing comments, and I really appreciate those. There was a lot of really heartfelt comments in that video, and trust me, I get it. I know how lucky I am for being able to see my dad on a daily basis and share this time with him. That is not underappreciated. If I have a choice in the matter, he will be here for as long as he can be, even if that means he's watching TV and eating popcorn. I don't care. So thank you for watching that. Thank you for all the feedback. It really did mean a lot to me. I don't even know if my dad watched it. I showed him the thumbnail and I said, look, Dad, 10,000 people watched your video. And he's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll watch it later. So I'll check in with him, see if he watched it. Dad, did you watch your video yet?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah. I watched it.
What'd you think?
I'm an old man.
Oh.
I'm really old.
Oh, come on.
I look like a 90 years old in that.
I thought you were awesome.
So what are you recording now?
Your reaction to the video. Anyway, I really appreciate it. Have a great week. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe. So many of you out there are not subscribed, and I'd really appreciate it if you did. That's a great way to support the channel. And we'll see you in the next video. Appreciate it. Thank you.